Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Journeys. Tonight, we travel north to the very edge of the Roman Empire, to life upon Hadrian's War. From damp barracks at dawn, to drills, patrols, and uneasy night watches, you'll walk in the sandals of a frontier soldier, among forts, feasts, and comrades, keeping guard against the wilderness beyond. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past, do leave a like, and let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from this evening. Now close your eyes, settle back, and let the day begin on the wall. You wake to the sound of the horn. It is not a grand trumpet's call from some forum in Rome, nor the smooth bronze blast that might accompany a triumph. Here, on the northern frontier, it is a rougher affair. A curved horn of cattle, hollowed and patched, its note long and low, echoing over damp fields in the stone ramparts of the wall. The sound drifts through the mist, heavy and grey, pulling you from your thin blanket like a tug on the arm. The air is cold, biting your nose as you breathe. The stone of the barracks beneath you is clammy with night's dew, the straw mattress damp enough to itch your skin. When you sit up, your cloak smells of smoke and sweat. Every man's cloak does, steeped in the stench of fires, damp wall, and human company. You rub your arms, chasing warmth back into stiff muscles. Outside, the wall looms, pale in the dawn light. From your barracks doorway, you can see it stretching out across the hills, a ribbon of stone cutting through the wild lands. Its face is slick with mist, its edges softened by the fog that rolls in from the north. To the south, fields fade into the haze, dotted with the low huts of locals who live under Rome's shadow. To the north, only wilderness, scrub, heather, damp earth, and the whisper of forests where no law but survival reigns. The fort stirs slowly to life. Boots scuff on stone, shields clatter as they are lifted from racks. Men cough and mutter curses as they rouse. A mule brays from the stable, answered by the bark of a dog that patrols the yard. Smoke rises from the first cook fires, the smell of charred wood sharp against the damp air. Your stomach clenches with hunger as the scent of barley porridge drifts past. A cook ladles it into clay bowls, the steam curling in the chill. The smell is earthy, nutty, with a faint sourness. When you eat, the taste is simple, soft barley grains, salted just enough, with a drizzle of honey if fortune is kind. It sticks to your teeth, warm in your belly, a comfort against the cold, though plain enough that you envy the richer tables of offices. Around you, men eat hungrily, spoons scraping wood against clay, mouths slurping noisily in the half-light. The barracks are loud now with voices. Some men trade jokes, others grumble about the weather, others mutter prayers under their breath. A soldier near you kisses a small charm before tucking it back beneath his tunic, a token from home perhaps. A scrap of bone or bronze pressed into his palm by a mother, a wife, a lover. You hear Latin mixed with Greek, even snatches of Gaulish or German. The legion is a patchwork of tongues, held together more by command than kinship. Leather creaks as you pull on your gear. The straps are stiff from yesterday's rain. The smell of tanned hide strong, sharp, mingled with the faint musk of sweat that never quite leaves. As you pull the deadline, you fasten your belt, its bronze buckle cool to the touch, its weight familiar at your hips. Your boots squelch faintly, still damp from yesterday's march, the wool wrappings inside sour with wet. When you lift your shield from its place against the wall, its wood feels rough beneath your hand, its paint flaking, rim dented from use. Beyond the barracks, the parade ground gathers. Men line up in ranks, their cloaks pulled tight against the cold, breath steaming in the air. The centurion strides before them, his vine stick tapping against his palm, his voice harsh as he calls out orders. The sound cuts through the fog, sharp and steady, answered by the shuffle of boots and the clatter of shields. The smell of iron fills the air as weapons are lifted, the tang sharp, metallic, mingling with the smoke of cook fires and the damp scent of earth. Helmets gleam faintly in the growing light, their bronze crests catching what sun pierces the clouds. You slide yours over your head, the metal cold, the strap rough under your chin. Your vision narrows, the world framed by the rim of iron and the mist beyond. The fort is awake now, Chickens cluck from their pens, a goat bleats. Children of camp follows chase each other near the smithy. The clang of hammer on anvil rings steady, iron striking iron, sparks snapping in the gloom. The smith's fire throws the only true brightness in the yard, its heat drawing men to linger for warmth as much as for repair. The smell of scorched iron and coal is thick in your nose, catching in your throat. You shoulder your spear, its shaft smooth where your hand grips, splintered in places where it has struck too hard against shield or post. The tip gleams faintly, sharp enough to pierce hide or flesh. Its weight is as familiar as the belt at your waist, a part of you now, as much as the scars on your arms. The horn sounds again, a long, low note that rolls across the mist. It is the call to work, to watch, to labour at the war. Around you, men shift into movement, ranks breaking as tasks are called out. Patrols to the ramparts, guard duty at the gates, labour on the ditches and stones, errands into the village nearby. Each man mutters as he turns, some eager for action, others groaning at the endless toil. You march with them, boots thudding against stone, spears clattering in rhythm. The wall rises before you, its stones pale, slick, unyielding. You can smell the damp moss that clings in its cracks, the earth piled at its base, the faint whiff of dung where beasts were tethered in the night. The frontier waits, grey, damp, cold, and restless. It is a place of endless duty, of endless watch, of endless waiting. And you, a Roman soldier on its edge, step into another day upon Hadrian's wall. The horn fades, but the sound lingers in your chest, urging you on with the others toward the wall. The stones rise tall and grey before you, wet with a mist of dawn, their edges slick beneath your boots. You place your hand against the surface as you climb. The stone is cold, damp, rough under your palm. It smells faintly of moss and rain, as though the very wall breathes the dampness of this northern land. The ramparts stretch in either direction, running out into the fog, vanishing where the eye can't follow. To your left and right, comrades march in rhythm, their boots clattering on stone, shields knocking against their shoulders with every step. The centurion's voice barks sharp commands, each syllable snapping like a whip. Men answer in clipped tones, the chorus of Latin roughened by accents from every corner of the empire. The present Adam inflet. The air atop the wall feels sharper, keener, as though the wind has teeth. It cuts through your cloak, rattling the bronze crest of your helmet, whipping at the leather ties that bind your gear. Your breath streams white, carried away into the fog. You can taste the damp on your tongue, like wet earth, like stone after rain, faintly metallic. To the south, life is ordered. Fields spread out, low huts with thatched roofs send up thin smoke, and villagers already move about their day. Sheep bleat faintly, their sound carried soft by the morning air. The smell of wood smoke drifts upward from their hearts, warm, homely, a reminder that not all live behind walls and weapons. To the north, the world is raw. Rolling hills rise dark against the fog, their heather slick with dew. Clumps of woodland huddle close, their branches stark, black, tangled. Beyond, the moors stretch out, open and unwelcoming, a land where wind howls free and shadows gather thick. No villages, no roads, only wilderness, and in that wilderness, the watchful eyes of those Rome calls enemies. The patrol halts at intervals, men standing watch along the rampart. You take your place, spear braced, shield propped at your side. The stone beneath your boots is uneven, worn by countless feet, its cracks filled with lichen and moss. You shift your weight, your cloak flapping, your fingers stiff on the wood of your spear. The wind hums against the iron tip, whistling faintly, as though reminding you of its sharpness. The silence stretches, broken only by the creak of leather and the coughs of men nearby. Then, faintly, you hear it, the cry of a raven, harsh, grating, echoing across the hills. The bird circles above the northern moor, its black wings cutting through the mist. It caws again, a sound too loud for its size, and vanishes into the fog. Men mutter under their breath, some making small signs against ill omen. An officer strides past, his cloak heavy, his boots clean despite the mud. His eyes are sharp, scanning the horizon, his vine stick tapping idly against his thigh. He pauses to inspect your spear, his gaze flicking from iron tip to wooden shaft. He nods once. Approval, nothing more. Before moving on, his voice carrying commands for others to tighten ranks, to watch closer, to never slacken. Below the wall, a work party labours. You hear the scrape of spades against soil, the clatter of stones dragged into place, the groans of mules pulling carts heavy with timber. The air is filled with the earthy smell of damp soil, the acrid tang of sweat rising from straining men, the sharp whinny of beasts pulling against their harness. It is endless toil, the wall always needing repair, always demanding labour. You pace the rampart, eyes fixed north. The mist clings low, curling along the ground, making every bush, every shadow, every rock seem alive. You imagine shapes moving, a figure crouched, a spear glinting, a fire smouldering. Yet when you stare harder, it is only stone, only heather, only mist. Your eyes ache with the strain, but you dare not lower them. The frontier teaches vigilance. The inattentive do not last long. From further along the wall, a shout rises, brief, sharp. Men tense, spears lifted, shields braced. You grip yours tighter, heart thudding in your chest. The shout is followed by laughter, mocking, distant. Shadows flicker through the mist. Voices in a tongue you don't understand call out jeers. Stones clatter against the wall, thudding harmlessly against the stone. A childish assaultment only to toll. The centurion barks for silence. Arrows are knocked, but no order to loose is given. The voices retreat into the fog, fading with mocking cries. Tension lingers, heavy as the mist, before slowly loosening. Men mutter curses, spit over the wall, shake heads. You stand still, spear heavy in your hand, heart still racing though the danger has passed. The morning wears on. The sun climbs higher, the fog thinning but never fully lifting. Your arms ache from holding the spear, your feet numb from the cold stone. The cries of traders rise faintly from the village to the south, the market stirring to life. The smells drift too, bread baking, onions frying, a pig roasting somewhere, the warmth reaching even here, teasing your empty belly. Still you stand, still you watch. Such is the life on the ramparts, long hours of cold, of hunger, of waiting, eyes fixed always on the grey, endless north. The watch along the ramparts passes in weary stretches of silence, broken only by wind and distant cries. At last the horn sounds again, 3 short blasts rolling through the air, the signal to change. Relief washes through you, though your body is stiff and your fingers numb from gripping the spear. You march down the stone steps, boots clattering, and enter the fort once more, where the smell of smoke and cooking drifts stronger now. The parade ground hums with activity. Men stripped of heavy cloaks form ranks again, shields lifted, spears braced, their centurion barking commands in clipped Latin. You take your place among them, shoulders brushing comrades, your shield's rim digging faintly into your side. The ground beneath is packed earth, damp in patches, the smell of mud mixing with sweat as bodies gather close. Ad signa! The centurion roars. The standard lifts high, the eagle gleaming faintly, its bronze surface kissed by what little sun breaks through the clouds. Your heart lifts with it, the symbol still potent, even here at the very edge of the empire. Drill begins. Marching first, the thud of boots in riven, the slap of sandals against mud, the rattle of armour as men move in step. Your shield grows heavy quickly, your arm burning as you keep it raised in line. The centurion's vine stick snaps against a laggard's thigh. A curse follows, but the pace quickens. Then spear practice. Thrust, withdraw, thrust again, wood shivering under strain, iron tips cutting the air with whistles. Sweat beads on your brow, stinging your eyes, your breath rasping, as commands come sharp and unrelenting. The smell of men is thick, leather oiled and creaking, wool damp with sweat, skin rank with effort. Dust rises from the ground, clinging to your tunic, mixing with salt from your skin, until you taste grit on your lips. The clang of bronze against shield echoes like thunder, the centurion's voice cutting through like lightning. After drill, inspection. Armor checked, straps tugged tight, rivets tapped, helmets lifted and examined, shields measured for cracks, spears for straightness, blades for sharpness. Your own gladius is drawn, its steel cold in your hand. The edges inspected, the centurion's eye narrowing, his finger running lightly along its length. He nods once and hands it back, the weight settling familiar at your hip. Then come the smaller duties that keep the fort alive. Some men are sent to the smithy, shields needing mending, spearheads to be sharpened. The clang of hammer on anvil rings constant, the air hot with sparks and coal smoke. The smith curses in Gaulish as he works, sweat pouring, his apron black with soot. The smell of iron is sharp enough to sting, the hiss of water and hot metal a sharp snap in your ears. Others tend the beasts. Mules are led to the trough, their muzzles dipping into water with loud slurps. Their smell is thick and musky, dung sharp on the breeze, their hides rough beneath your hand when you help brush them clean. Chickens cluck and scatter, feathers drifting loose to cling to cloaks and hair. A goat bleats when pulled from its pen, its horns sharp, its stink strong enough to make you gag. You, with others, are set to repairs. The wall never sleeps, stones shift, mortar cracks, ditches fill with mud. You haul baskets of rubble, the weight biting into your shoulders, the rope rough against your palms. Your boots sink in damp earth, the mud sucking with every step. The smell of soil rises rich and wet, clinging to your skin until it feels as though the earth itself wishes to drag you down. The work is endless, yet it carries rhythm. Stones thud into place, hammers crack, men grunt with effort, voices calling out in every tongue. Above, the standards ripple faintly in the breeze, the eagle glinting, watching. You catch sight of the chaplain priest walking the yard, his hand raised in blessing, censer swinging, incense drifting sweet and sharp over sweat and soil. His murmured Latin feels soft against the hard labour, a reminder that even here, on the edge of the world, Rome binds body and soul alike. At last, the horn sounds again, the midday break. Relief ripples through the men, as tools are dropped, shields stacked, sweat wiped from brows with grimy hands. The smell of food grows stronger from the kitchens, richer now. Bread fresh from ovens, pork sizzling on spits, lentils bubbling with herbs. Your stomach growls loud enough that your comrade grins, clapping your shoulder. You trudge toward the barracks, weary already though the day is only half done. Dust clings to your skin, sweat streaks your brow, your arms ache from drill and labour, but the promise of food, of warmth, of brief rest drives you on. The fort hums around you still, but softer now, less shouting, more laughter, the smell of feasting rising with the smoke. The barracks courtyard is thick with smoke by the time you arrive. Fires blaze in rows of braziers, their wood crackling, their smoke biting sharp in your throat. The cooks move among them like generals in command, stirring pots, turning spits, shouting at boys to fetch water or wood. Their aprons are smeared dark with grease and ash, their hands blackened, their temper short. The smells are overwhelming. Bread fresh from the ovens fills the air with its sour, nutty tang. Flat loaves are stacked high, their crusts blistered dark, their insides soft and steaming when torn apart. Meat hisses on spits, pork glistening as fat drips into the flames. Lamb rubbed with garlic and herbs, the air thick with their savour. Lentils bubble in clay pots, earthy and rich, spiced with cumin and coriander, their steam rising like clouds. A side dish of barley is stirred with honey, its sweetness mingling oddly with the savoury scents. You take your place in the queue, bowl in hand, jostling among comrades. The line is loud with banter, curses traded as easily as coins. A Gaul boasts that his village brews beer stronger than Roman wine. A Spaniard laughs, claiming his olive oil would make even this northern mud taste of paradise. A Briton mutters that both are fools, his accent thick, his grin wide as he snatches a crust of bread early and stuffs it into his mouth. The men laugh, the sound ragged but genuine, their weariness eased by the promise of food. At last, your bowl is filled. The porridge of lentils is thick, brown, steaming. You dip bread into it, the crust so hard it scrapes your gums, but softened by the broth until it melts on your tongue. The flavour is earthy, sharp with cumin, the lentils soft enough to fall apart, the garlic leaving a bite at the back of your throat. You chew slowly, savouring every mouthful, hunger sharpening each flavour until it feels rich as a banquet. Next comes meat. A chunk of pork is dropped onto your bread, its skin blistered crisp, its fat oozing, its smell smoky and strong. You tear it apart with your teeth, juices dripping down your chin, the taste salty, savoury, filling. The fat coats your lips and tongue, the crisp crackle of skin giving way to tender flesh beneath. Round you men grunt in pleasure, some smacking lips, others making obscene jokes about fat and women that draw laughter into the smoky air. A jug of sour wine is passed down the bench. The liquid is sharp, biting at your tongue, tasting faintly of vinegar and resin, yet it warms your chest, cuts the heaviness of meat and lentils, and leaves your head light. A man wipes the jug's lip with his sleeve before handing it on, but it hardly matters. You all drink from the same, comrades bound by sweat and hunger. The chatter is constant. Tales of home mingle with curses at officers. Laughter mixes with muttered complaints. One soldier swears the gods cursed him with northern weather. Another insists the locals are witches who spoil milk and sour wine. A third jokes that Rome forgot them entirely, leaving them to rot on the edge of the world. You laugh despite yourself, though the truth in his words bites sharper than the cumin in your stew. A quarrel breaks out at the far end of the bench. Two men fight over a hunk of bread, their hands grappling, their bowls spilling lentils into the mud. Voices rise, fists swing, and for a moment it seems knives might be drawn. But the centurion strides in, vine sticks snapping across knuckles, his voice harsh enough to cut steel. The men curse but retreat, rubbing bruises, their laughter returning once the officer's back is turned. You eat until your ball is scraped clean, the last of the bread sopping up juices and grease. Your belly feels full, warm, heavy, a rare comfort in this damp northern air. The men slump back on benches, some belching loudly, others smacking lips, some already dozing in the smoke. The sound of chewing fades into the crackle of fire, the hiss of fat, the clink of ladles against pots. For a moment, you let yourself breathe. The wall looms still, the north waits beyond it. The duties of afternoon will soon drag you back. But for now, with the taste of pork still on your tongue and the warmth of wine in your chest, life feels almost tolerable. The feast may be humble, but it binds you with your fellows, a brotherhood forged not only by arms, but by the breaking of bread. The midday meal lies heavy in your belly, the sour wine still warm in your chest. When the horn sounds again, the benches groan as men rise reluctantly, cloaks gathered, shields strapped, spears lifted. Duty waits for no man, not even one full of pork and lentils. You join the patrol forming at the gate. The timber doors groan as they swing open, iron hinges creaking, their smell thick with tar and resin. The centurion raises his hand, his eyes sharp, and the column moves forward, boots striking mud, shields clattering, the iron rims of helmets gleaming faintly beneath the pale sky. Outside the walls, the world feels wider, emptier. The fields close to the fort are tame enough, furrows turned, sheep grazing, huts smoking faintly in the afternoon chill. The smell of manure is strong here, sharp in your nostrils, mixed with the damp scent of ploughed earth. Farmers glance up as you pass, some offering cautious nods, others staring with unreadable eyes. Children linger at fences, wide-eyed, their hair wild, their faces smudged, whispering to one another as they watch the soldiers stride by. Farther north, the land shifts. The furrows fade to scrub, the huts grow fewer, and the moors stretch out again. Rough grass, heather, and patches of bog that suck greedily at your boots. Ravens croak overhead, their wings slicing across the grey sky, and the air smells faintly of peat and smoke, as though the very soil remembers fire. The patrol spreads out, shields raised, eyes scanning the horizon. Every shadow is suspect, every bush might hide a spear, every stone might be a crouched man. Your fingers tighten on your shaft, your breath quickening though the land lies quiet. The silence here is deceptive, you've learned that much. The enemy rarely shows himself until he chooses. You pass a mile castle, its small garrison waving as you approach. Smoke rises from their hearth, and the smell of fish cooking drifts faintly, sharp and salty. A boy runs out with a jug of water, offering it to your centurion, who drinks before waving the patrol onward. The boy's eyes follow you, his bare feet muddy, his grin toothless but wide. Then he vanishes back behind the stone walls, as though swallowed. Further on, the land grows wilder still. You see cairns scattered along a ridge, stones piled high, their purpose uncertain. Graves, or markers, or warnings. The wind hums low as it passes over them, and one of your comrades mutters a quick prayer, fingers brushing the charm beneath his tunic. The rest march on, though glances flick nervously toward the stones. Then comes contact. Not battle, not yet, but the brush of two worlds meeting. A group of locals appear on the horizon, herding cattle across a patch of rough ground. Their cloaks are heavy, their hair long, their faces half hidden by shadow. They carry no spears openly, but long staves rest in their hands, and knives glint faintly at their belts. Their dogs bark sharp and wild, circling the cattle with quick movements. The patrol halts. For a moment the air is heavy with stillness, the only sound the lowing of cattle and the distant caw of ravens. The centurion steps forward, calling out in rough Britannic learned for such moments. His words are slow, cautious, his hands open though his stance is firm. The locals mutter among themselves, their accents thick, their voices low. You catch none of their words, only the tone, distrust, weariness, a touch of disdain. Coins are exchanged, or perhaps promises. One man steps forward with a jug of milk, setting it down on a stone, then stepping back. In return, your centurion tosses a small bag, grain, perhaps, or salt. Both sides stare at the goods, neither moving for a long heartbeat. Then one of the locals whistles, and the dogs drive the cattle onward, their bells clanging softly. The Romans take the jug. No blows are struck, no blood spilled, but the tension lingers sharp as a blade, until the figures vanish into the north. You march on. The land is quiet again, though your ears strain for every rustle, every bird call. The heather brushes your boots, its smell faintly sweet, mixed with the tang of bog water and the musk of sheep dung. The clouds grow heavy, rolling low, their bellies dark with the promise of rain. The world feels vast, empty, and yet always watched. By the time you turn back toward the fort, your shoulders ache from the shield's weight, your throat is dry, and your eyes burn from constant scanning. The war rises faint in the distance, a grey ribbon cutting the land, a promise of safety that feels both near and impossibly far. You march back with your comrades, boots thick with mud, sweat drying cold on your skin, stomach already growling for the next meal. The afternoon patrol is done, but the frontier never sleeps. Somewhere beyond the moors, unseen eyes linger still. The patrol returns weary, beats heavy with mud, cloaks damp with the first spit of rain. The gates creak shut behind you, the sound of iron bars sliding into place ringing loud against the stone. Within the fort, the air is warmer, the smoke of cook fires already curling thick, the smells rich and heavy, garlic frying in fat, onions sizzling, the sharp tang of vinegar rising from pots. The men drift toward the kitchens, voices louder now, their relief at safety matched by hunger. The clatter of ladles against bronze cauldrons rings through the yard. The hiss of meat in its own dripping makes your mouth water. The cooks move like soldiers themselves, directing boys with sharp barks. Wood to the fire, more water in the pot, keep stirring, curse you. Their sleeves are dark with grease, their faces flushed with heat, the air around them almost unbearable from the mingling smells. Bread is pulled from the ovens, loaves cracking as their crusts split, steam rising warm and sour. A soldier tears one open, the inside soft, the smell sharp with the tang of leaven. Meat turns slowly on spits, pork and mutton, the fat dripping onto coals with a hiss that sends up a savoury smoke. The scent wraps itself around you, clinging to cloak and hair, your stomach growling as if the smell alone were food. Lentils simmer in pots, spiced with coriander and pepper. Their steam mingles with the meat's smoke until the whole courtyard is thick with it. Not all is food, though. Some men head to the smithy, the steady clang of hammer and anvil ringing even at this hour. A spear tip is repaired, a shield rim bent back into shape. Sparks leap bright against the gathering dusk, the smell of coal smoke acrid in the air. Others tend to animals, brushing down mules, throwing scraps to the chittens. The stable smells thick with dung, sharp and musky, but the beasts snort and stamp in comfort at familiar hands. And then comes leisure, brief, precious. Dice rattle on a wooden board, the men around it roaring in laughter and curses as fortunes swing with each throw. Coins clink, knuckles rap the wood, insults are flung with grins sharp as blades. Another group plays a game of knuckle bones, their focus tight, voices low, the stakes whispered. Somewhere a flute is played, high and thin, its notes winding through the smoky air. The chatter grows broader, tales from home, boasts of women and wine, lies too large to be believed, yet told with such conviction that men laugh until tears streak their cheeks. A Spaniard insists he once killed a wolf with his bare hands. A Gaul swears he fathered 6 children in 6 towns along the Rhine. You listen, smiling faintly, the warmth of comradeship easing the cold that had sunk into your bones on patrol. The sky outside the fort deepens into violet, the sun sinking low. The shadows stretch long, torches are lit, their resinous smoke bitter as it curls upward. Sparks from cook fires rise and vanish into the darkening air. The sound of the wall itself quiets, the workers gone, the ditch silent, only the watchmen pacing above. Their boots thud steady, their spears glint faint in the torchlight, their breaths steaming white in the cooling night. At last, the call comes. Supper is ready. The men rise eagerly, jostling toward the benches, bowls in hand once more. The smell is overwhelming now. Roasted meat, lentil stew, bread sour and warm, wine sour yet sweet enough to none. The chatter swells with it, voices loud, laughter rolling through the barracks yard. The night has begun, and with it the small mercies of food and fellowship. You shuffle forward with the others, bowl in hand, the torchlight flickering across armour and tired faces. The smoke from the spits stings your eyes, but the smell makes your mouth flood with saliva. Fat drips onto coals, hissing and spitting, sending up bursts of savoury smoke that cling to your cloak and hair. When at last your turn comes, the cook slaps a ladle of stew into your bowl. It slops thick, brown and steaming, the scent earthy with lentils and sharp with garlic and herbs. He drops a hunk of bread across it, its crust so hard it cracks under your thumb. Then a boy cuts a slice of pork from the spit and lays it on top. The juices run into the stew until the whole bowl smells like heaven itself. You sit on the bench, the wood rough beneath you, shoulder pressed against your comrade. Around you men eat noisily, spoons clattering against bowls, bread torn with teeth, wine splashing from hand to hand. The air is loud with talk, but your focus is on the food before you. You tear the bread first, dipping it into the stew. The crust softens in the hot broth, the inside soaking until it drips. You put it to your lips. The flavour is earthy, filling, the lentils soft against your teeth, the garlic sharp at the back of your tongue. Cumin lingers, smoky and warm, clinging to your mouth even as you swallow. The pork is next. You tear at it with your fingers, the fat greasing your skin, the meat steaming in the torchlight. It tastes of salt and smoke, the skin crisp and crackling between your teeth, the flesh tender beneath. The juices coat your tongue, thick and savoury, so rich that you close your eyes a moment, savouring every bite. The wine follows, sour, sharp, almost vinegar, yet after stew and meat it is welcome, cutting through the heaviness, warming your chest as it slides down. The taste clings, resinous, bittersweet, making you grimace even as you pass the jug to the next man. Around you, the noise swells. Dice rattle on the table. Curses rise as coins change hands. Someone sings, off-key but loud, his voice booming over the din. Men clap and jeer, their laughter rolling like thunder. A Spaniard tells a tale of a tavern girl who tricked him out of his purse. A Gaul insists he saw a wolf at the edge of the moor that very afternoon. You laugh with them, the sound coming easy now that your belly is full and the wine loosens your tongue. Not all is mirth. 2 men at the far end of the bench argue, voices sharp, hands slamming the wood. One accuses the other of cheating at dice, the other swears by Mars he would never. The argument swells, bowls are knocked aside, and fists rise. Before they can strike, the centurion storms in, his vine stick cracking across the table. The sound cuts through the noise like a whip. Silence follows, heavy, save for muttered curses. The fight dies, though glares remain. You finish your bowl, scraping the last of the stew with a finger, licking it clean. Your stomach is heavy now, warm, the fatigue of the day settling deeper with every swallow. Around you the talk grows lower, laughter softer, the fires crackle louder as the night creeps closer. You lean back against the bench, the smell of smoke thick in your hair, the taste of cumin and pork lingering on your tongue. The wall looms outside, the wild lands beyond still waiting, but for this moment, here in the torchlit barracks, you are only a man with a full belly, a warm fire, and comrades close. The warmth of supper clings to you still as you step into the night air. The pork's fat lingers on your lips, the sour wine on your tongue, the smoke of the cook lies thick in your cloak. But the world beyond the barracks bites sharper now. The cold cuts straight through the warmth in your belly, settling into your bones as you climb the stone steps to the rampart. The torches gutter in the wind, their resinous smoke curling sharp into your nose. The flames spit and sway, throwing jagged shadows across the stones. The wall itself is damp beneath your boots, slick with evening dew, the moss in its cracks glistening faintly. You brush your hand against the parapet. It is rough and cold, the stone biting into your palm, as though it resents you from the long, tall man. Behind you, the fort softens, the sound of men still echoes faint, laughter over dice, a song sung off key, the bark of a mule refusing its bone. But already the barracks quiets, the voices sinking lower, the day's exhaustion pulling comrades toward their blankets. The smell of stew and grease drifts faintly on the breeze, mixed with dung from the stables and coal smoke from the smithy. But the scents thin the higher you stand upon them. Northward lies only dark. The moors stretch endless, rolling shadow broken by patches of woodland. The wind moves through the heather with a soft hiss, a sound that prickles the hairs on your neck. From time to time a raven croaks, its harsh cry echoing far too loud across the emptiness. Every noise feels larger here, the snap of a twig, the call of a fox, the faint splash of water in a ditch. You cannot tell if the sounds are close or far. The night plays tricks with distance. Your comrades pace beside you, shields slung, spears ready. Their boots scuff against the stone, their cloaks snapping in a breeze. One mutters under his breath, words too soft to catch, but rhythmic, a prayer perhaps, to keep shadows at bay. Another spits over the wall, the wet sound loud in the stillness, as if to mock the dark. You take your post, leaning slightly into your spear. The wood is smooth against your palm, worn by long hours of grip. The iron tip catches the torchlight in a dull green, the only brightness against the void beyond. You breathe deep, the cold air filling your lungs, tinged faintly with peat and wood smoke from distant hearths. The hours stretch. Your feet the hours stretch. Your feet grow numb. Your eyes strain against the dark. You imagine movement where there is none, shapes shifting in the mist, shadows bending into forms of men with spears. At times you swear you hear voices, faint and mocking, carried on the wind. But the night holds, unbroken, the silence returning heavier each time. A comrade passes a skin of watered wine. You sip, the liquid cold, sour, the taste cutting through the dry thickness of your mouth. The swallow eases your throat, though it leaves your belly unsettled, as though the meal and wine of earlier reserve the intrusion. You hand it back, wiping your lips with the back of your hand, eyes never leaving the horizon. The horn does not sound quickly. Time crawls on, slow as the mist creeping along the ditch below, but at last, faintly, the call rises, a long, low note ruling through the night. Relief spreads through your limbs as the next watch climbs the steps, their cloaks drawn, their faces pale in torchlight. You nod once as they pass, a silent exchange of burden, before turning to the same. Your boots echo against the stone, your body heavy with weariness. The fort awaits below, half silent now, the dice game's finished, the laughter faded, the barracks below faintly with lamplight, the smell of smoke and sweat drifting thick. You pull your cloak tighter, already running like a straw in the wind. The first hours of the night are dark, others will keep watch now. The blue flask before the world devours more. As you turn to leave your post, boots heavy against the stone, something moves. I realize that the world has been simply wrong. But first you can begin with the mist, falling away, twisting like smoke across the road. At length, just beyond it, I figure, dark against the dark at night, standing still, too still, as if it works. Your hand tightens on the steel, the wood left and back in your grip. Your knife catches sharp in your throat. The torch light does not look far. The blackness makes the edge You glance to your comrade beside you. There, you hiss, nodding toward the moor. He squints into the dark, mutters under his breath, and spits. Nothing. The night toys with you. Yet his hand strays to his sword hilt all the same. The figure does not move, or perhaps it sways faintly like a tree in wind. You blink, and it is gone, swallowed whole by fog and shadow, as though it never stood there at all. Silence presses heavy. You strain your ears. The wind hisses through heaven. A raven croaks far off. The ditch gurgles faintly where water seeps through stone. But no footsteps, no cries, no clash of steel. Only emptiness. Your heart thuds as you force yourself down the steps. The cold stone slippery underfoot. The horn sounds faintly. The next watch climbing past. Eyes bleary, cloaks drawn tight. You want to speak, to warn, but the words stick. If it was nothing, you'll be a fool. If it was something, they will see soon. The thought closes around you like a shield. The gates loom. The barracks glow faint with lamplight. The smell of wood smoke and dung stronger now. Yet the comfort you felt earlier is frayed, thinned like worn cloth. Inside the barracks, men doze already, sprawled on straw, their snores rattling in the dark. The air is thick with sweat, damp wool, smoke, and the sour tang of wine. You ease down onto your pallet, the straw crunching, poking through your tunic to scratch your back. The warmth is welcome, but your eyes refuse to close. You hear whispers. A man across the room mutters to his bunkmate. They're watching, always watching. You'll see them, sometimes. Shadows, never close, never near. They test the wall, every night. His voice sinks lower, and his comrade shushes him. Rolling over with a groan, you stare at the rafters. The smell of pork still lingers faintly on your fingers, smoke in your hair, cumin on your breath. But none of it comforts you now. Every creak in the timber sounds like a footstep. Every cry of wind through the shutters feels like a whisper in a tongue you cannot understand. The figure lingers in your mind's eye, too sharp to dismiss, too fleeting to prove. A sheepman, perhaps. An enemy scout, more likely. Or perhaps the wall itself playing tricks, testing your nerves. The barracks is dim. The only light, the faint glow of embers in the hearth. They pulse red in the dark, like tired eyes, flaring briefly when a log shifts before sinking back into ash. The air is thick. Smoke, sweat, wet wool, leather, and the sour tang of wine, all mingling into a fugue that clings in your nostrils. It is stifling, yet better than the cold night air gnawing at the stones outside. You lie back on the straw, cloak pulled over your shoulders. The mattress crunches beneath you, sharp stalks poking your skin, one digging into your hip no matter how you turn. The blanket is scratchy, damp at the edges, but you pull it tighter all the same. Your body aches from drill, from patrol, from watch. Your arms throb faintly, your legs heavy as lead. The fatigue is a weight dragging you downward. And yet, your mind will not rest. You see again the shadow on the moor, standing too still, too silent. You hear again the ravens croak, the faint hiss of heather in the wind. You tell yourself it was nothing, a shepherd, perhaps, or mist playing tricks with your eyes. But doubt coils in your gut, twisting like a worm. What if it was a scout? What if eyes still watch from beyond the ditch, counting torches, marking routines? Well, what if eyes still watch, for worse, for all? What if eyes still watch for battle? Around you men sleep. One snores loudly, a ragged sound that rattles in his throat. Another murmurs in his dreams, words in a tongue you don't know, half prayer, half memory. Someone shifts, straw rustling, the smell of sweat rising fresh. Their closeness is both comfort and curse. Comrades at your side, yet no peace in the press of bodies. You roll onto your side, staring at the rafters lost in shadow. The faint drip of water echoes from somewhere near the wall, a steady plink that marks time more surely than the sun. You close your eyes, force yourself to breathe slow, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The straw rustles beneath you, the cloak itches against your cheek. The taste of garlic and pork lingers on your tongue, sour and stale now. A reminder of warmth, but not enough to ease the tightness in your chest. Minutes stretch, blur, thoughts fade, return. At last, your body wins where your mind falters. The ache in your limbs drags you downward, the warmth of breath and bodies around you weaving a net that pulls you into drowsiness. The snores blur into a dull roar, the creak of beams into a lullaby, the faint drip into a rhythm your body cannot resist. Sleep takes you, heavy, uneasy, but certain. The wall stands, the fort holds, the night is long. And you, soldier of Rome on its northern edge, surrender at last to rest. We've walked together through a soldier's life on Rome's northern frontier. I hope by now you are already asleep, but if not, do leave a like or suggest in the comments what journey you'd like us to take next. Thank you for standing the watch tonight. Sleep well, and good night.